y'all. All right, let's go ahead and look at this quadratic. We have x squared minus 5x is equal to negative 6. Okay, so I have that bx term, or I have that middle term with an x, so I know that I'm going to try factoring first. When I'm factoring, remember, we need to set it equal to 0. So this minus 6 over here needs to get added to the other side. I get x squared minus 5x plus 6 because I can't combine the 6 because it's just a number, and it's set equal to 0. Now, I will say, if we were doing this regularly, I would do my t-chart, I would find my values, and I would be able to factor. But for sake of this video, we are going to practice using the quadratic formula because remember, the quadratic formula works on any quadratic, so we're going to go through that process. So I've already done step 1. I've set the equation equal to 0. Step 2 is labeling A, B, and C. Remember, there's really a 1 in front of the x squared. It's in standard form. I have the x squared, the x, and the number. So I'm just going to write my A value is equal to 1, B is equal to negative 5, and C is equal to 6. So I've done step 2. All right, step 3 is to plug it into this formula. So x is equal to negative b. So be careful here. Negative from the formula. Then I'm putting in a negative 5. So if you want to put it in parentheses, you can. Or I know that 2 negatives make a positive. So I'm actually going to make that a positive 5 right away. So 5 plus or minus the square root of b squared. Again, make sure you put that in parentheses because we want the whole entire negative 5 squared minus 4 times my a value of 1 times my c value of 6, all divided by 2 times my a value. Okay, so be very careful when you're plugging in. Now we are going to simplify what is under the square root. So I'm going to take this guy and I'm going to do him over here. Remember, we are always going to do our exponents first, and I'm going to refresh so you guys can see. So that negative 5 squared, negative 5 times a negative 5 gives me a positive 25. So I'm going to write 25 minus 4 times 1 times 6. Now I'm going to do my multiplication. 4 times 1 is 4, times 6 is 24. So I have 25 minus 24, which gives me a value of 1. So I'm going to replace what's under the square root with 1. So copy down everything else. 5 plus or minus the square root of 1, all divided by, again, we can clean up this bottom. 2 times 1 is 2. Okay, now I get to take the square root of 1. 1 times 1 gives me 1. So if you want to do your t-chart or your factor tree, remember 1 times 1, they're the same, so I can factor it out. So I'm going to rewrite this as 5 plus or minus 1 divided by 2. Again, that plus or minus is super important because I have 2 different options. I could have 5 plus 1 divided by 2, or I could have 5 minus 1 divided by 2. And we're going to solve them separately. So 5 plus 1 is 6, and then 6 divided by 2 gives me 3. Here, 5 minus 1 gives me 4, and 4 divided by 2 gives me 2. So I have found my 2 values. X is equal to 3, or x is equal to 2. So again, you can always use your quadratic formula, but if you can see, there's a lot of places to go wrong here. So if we can factor, we are going to factor first, but we can always use the quadratic formula. And we got our answer is x is equal to 3 and x is equal to 2.